Hi, welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna, and this video is going to be about our April kit for our club on Facebook, our Facebook group called Rug Hooking, Rug Braiding, and Punch Needle Club of Southern New England, which is now much bigger than Southern New England. We have almost 300 members after not even, well, we're into the third month, so that's really good. It shows there's a lot of people out there who are hooking and beginning to hook and getting interested and excited. So we've been doing a kit every month, and this month I just finished doing the design for the kit and putting it together and hooking it myself. And I really sort of struggled with where we are in our lives right now, being inside and everything that's going on. It's so scary and grim and bleak, and the weather and everything else. So I made something really, really bright and colorful this month. And I hope that they've all been happy blocks so far. January mittens, and then the February conversation hearts, and then the March Irish rainbow with the sheep jumping over the rainbow against the Irish hills. And this month is I'll show you it in color first. It's called Bunny Hop. And I just blocked it upstairs. I just steamed it. This is the design for it. And when I sketched it out, I initially wanted to do, I was thinking bunnies, let's do bunnies. It's spring, it's getting into Easter, let's do bunnies. And I was going to do a bunny jumping out of a top hat, like a magician's bunny. I thought, let's do that. That's different. That's different than something with an Easter egg. But then I had the brainstorm of, okay, how about not a magician's hat and rather like an Easter bonnet, like a Judy Garland Easter parade type proper Easter hat. So that's what I did in the end. And it is very, very colorful. So we ended up getting 3 bunnies jumping out of the Easter hat with flowers on it and a scalloped border, like a swag border, and a busy background. So this is still, I'm still calling this a beginner block because it's very small and it comes as a kit. This month I think I'm going to put it on monk's cloth just because I have more monk's cloth and supplies are a little bit of a thing. I'm going to put it on monk's cloth unless you specifically say that you want linen. And if you do, then you get linen. There's no problem. I still have plenty. But this is what it looks like. It's hooked in a number 8 primitive. And I'm going to tack a video I did when I started this at the end of this video, attach the two together. So we've got, I'm going to bring in a little bit closer. We've got one bunny in white who I've outlined in yarn because the special sort of material, not special or mysterious by any means, but this has yarn in it. And I'm going to come to that, and it's going to be at the end of this video as well, the add-on. But these little punches of pink and purple are actually yarn and not wool strips. So we've got number 8 primitive cut wool strips. Here's a preview of some of the yummy colors. See the dust fly around too. It's like a snow globe in here. Number 8, it's about a 10-inch square. Again, the kit comes with the backing and all of the wool strips to do this and then some. So I've used white for this bunny. That's plain old white wool, nice door wool. And then I've got 2 different tweeds going with these 2 bunnies. Those are 2 completely different tweeds, if you can see those prints. That one's like a purple tweed, and this one is more of like a red, ochre, and blue tweed. But they were both different. And I liked making the 3rd bunny white. I'm just talking about this in case you are doing it with me. I want to point out in advance what things could pop up that would be, if not troubling, then a little trickier for a beginner. The tweed is hooking real well. The white didn't stand out well enough against the pink for me, so I used some of my yarn to outline it a little bit, and you might want to do that too. I used a number of greens. You have all of these in your kit in the border, and then I did 3 different flowers, and there's lots of color variety in these. Again, I just want to show you the drawing again because the drawing is quite simple, and it becomes busier, of course, when you're filling it in, but you don't always have to use my colors. They come in the kit. You could always put your different colors of flowers, or 2 flowers or 4 flowers or whatever you want. But I'm going to give you a preview of some of the colors that are in the kit because they're really neat. I think I did most of the dyeing on these. The pinks that you see in the background here, not the yarn parts, but just the plain wool parts, are actually 2 colors of pink. I don't know if you can tell, but these are darker and these are lighter. So 2 colors of, I'm going to do this so you can see this at the same time. 2 colors of pink are going into the background. And then we've even got 2 colors of, in the flowers here, there's some leafy bits. I just hooked in some leafy bits and made them look a little bit Art Deco. I put the leafy bits in random places, and that'll be up to you. So you can see it's drawn on the design very abstractly. So you handle the flowers however you want. But I am giving you these two different types of green. So like a leafy green and then like a sunshine. This is still a green, but more toward a yellow green. So you're going to have those two colors of green to pop the flowers with. And for the hat, you're going to have 3 colors of the brown. So right here, I'll lift it up again, but I want to show you, you're going to get the very light. These are from swatches, the medium, and then the darker. And you might want those 3 colors because you can see here the background. Oh, there it goes. The background is the very light, and then I've used the very dark in some places, and then the medium. You can handle that however you want. I've drawn the shadow lines on there. I've also outlined the crown of the hat in the darker, just so it stands out a bit better in the corner. So that's the brown set. You're going to have a bunch of these greens. There are at least, I would say, 4 to 6 different greens in there. And it looks like, oh, okay, there's like seafoam green, there's turquoise green, there's olive green. Maybe it seems all, you know, crazy daisies, but it does go quite well together, I think. I've also got the color changing green. You're going to get part of that too. One of these is a dip swatch. So it goes from one color, it's matching my shirt real well, to the next. And that hooks really well because you get that change automatically. All of these colors are in your set. You're getting strips of all of these. Oh boy, the family's coming home. My hands are going to start shaking. Get ready for insanity to be unleashed. All of these purples are in there. I've got a real bright light on me. Let me see if I can, that might even be brighter. No, I have to keep it. Like a red raspberry or red grape to like a indigo purple, more of a lavender. These are a little bit dip dyed too, more toward burgundy and wine colors. So you have all of those in there. And then this, I dyed this bright, bright, bright yellow that's a little bit mottled. And that is in part for the flower. I used that on the flower. But you also have pieces of these 2 new ones I dyed that I really like. This is a little bit different than that. So you have strips of both. And this is the purple one that's got kind of pansy colors, kind of iris and dark, dark, dark violet colors, a little bit of rust. Babies, I'm recording a video. A little bit of rust. If you want to say something to the video, say it when I'm done. And then you've got 3 yarns, sorry, that I'll show you in a minute. These are some of the purples that are in there. And then you've got 3 different yarns, and these are described at the end of the video too. This is a really heathery, can you get your face out of there, please? Purpley yarn. And then this lighter, thinner, more irisy purple. And then this color changing one that is really nice. It's got flecks of like a dark leaf color, all kinds of, this dark leaf flecks, all kinds of pops of like neon orange and yellow, really just really colorful and pretty. And you'll see as soon as this part of the video is over and we attach the second video that I've hooked that into here and there's. So I just randomly hooked wherever I wanted, wherever the feeling was taking me. And then I left little gaps, like a little stained glass window, and I filled it in with whatever of these 3 yarns I felt like grabbing, or which one was closest to me and closest to the remote control. That would be the one that I grabbed. And that sort of randomness is something that I like. You can be maybe more thoughtful or control your background more if you want to. You could divide it up even into a grid or a pattern or a distinct floral pattern if you'd like. I did willy-nilly style, and that's just the way I am. That's the way I like it. I like to keep it very folky, but you do it the way that you love it because it has to be yours 100%. These are just suggestions. The drawings, the pattern is just a suggestion. It's a piece of cloth with a line drawing on it that you have to do whatever you want to do with to make it perfect. But I'm just showing you the bits and pieces of the kit that is coming out right now. I can start going into production with it now. I've got everything ready. If you have any questions about it, let me know. The other video is going to be tacked on to the end right now. And I just want to let you know I made a lot of changes to the hats and I made a lot of changes to the bunny. a lot of changes since I started shooting that video. So don't be confused. This is what I ended up with, and this is what you'll get. But if you like some of the ideas in the earlier version, then you can go for that too. Please like and subscribe if you're watching these videos so I know how many people are watching them. I love making them. It's a lot of fun. It's a distraction and a break from the day, and I love it. But I love to know that you're watching too, because otherwise I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels, like with so many things in life. Have a great day, and the kit is always $45 free shipping in the US. It's on my page. You can email me for it if you're finding me in some kind of backdoor way. It should be available always. I can keep it in stock. Thank you so much. Have a great day and be careful. Bye. Okay, so I'm working on the bunny hop, the March block, and I'm just doing a close-up video here of some of the parts that are a little bit harder. We've got a lot of curves in this. I've got this upside down right now facing me, but this is an upside down Easter hat, and there's 3 rabbits jumping out of it. So I'm showing you this one that's already hooked. This is in an 8 primitive wide cut, number 8. So I've got this one stitched in, and I'm now working on this second one here. And it's a bit of a tricky stitch because it's wide, and this is going to be this plaid. Can you tell her to be quiet, please? And it's going to go kind of in lines because your plaids are fairly geometric looking. So we want it to go in pretty clean lines. You don't want a lot of cuts and breaks in the design. You want the continuity of the nice long lines so that the rabbit's body, the emphasis on the design of him leaping, he has a nice long, lean silhouette. And we want to make sure that we keep that by keeping the long lines going. So I would hook these rabbits like this. That one came up a bit too tall. There we go. I'm on a frame that's a little bit too big for this, but making it work here. Bringing some of my loops down a bit. Pull that one out. But I'm going to continue. My tip for hooking the rabbits is to hook them the long way. Get as long of a line going as you can for continuity and to emphasize the shape that we're trying to get with him. Now, that's about as long as it's going to get anyway, so I'm going to leave that for now. The other sort of tricky part with hooking these rabbits is going to be, I hope we can see this, the little paws are quite small. So I'm starting at the feet. You start however, and you're probably a more experienced hooker than I am anyway, so maybe you don't even need these tips, but I'm going straight across the little arms for the straight line. And then what I did with that first rabbit over here was I had to add, this is my linen coming up a little bit, I had to add some loops on this side to give his leg a little more fullness. So right now I'm just running around the silhouette of his neck with the loops, and it is a bit tricky. This plaid is nice and fulled. It's nice and fat and wide, and it's going to hook nice. But you've got to be so careful with the plaids. They give a wonderful directional movement feeling, and they're so colorful and unexpected, and there's so much sort of variety in pulling the loops up that it makes its own pattern, and it's so varied and different from loop to loop. That's the wonderful thing about using something like a plaid to hook. And I wanted to use plaids that had bright pops with the Easter theme. I thought it was an interesting thing to be able to play with these colorful plaids. So I'm going to leave him here right now. I've still got some wool below, but I'll just go around this corner because of course I'm going to want to hook his ear the same way I hooked his little paws. It's a straight ear, but you can see, you know, your interpretation is your own, and you've got to make decisions that are right for the way you want yours to look. But I'm going to want the ears to be a little bit full up here as I've drawn them. This one, for example, has thinner ears. This one has quite thin ears. So you can make choices as you go from piece to piece about that. Now, regarding these feet, this foot to me is a little bit too thin. So I'm bringing a piece up on the side, and then I'm going to force the loops to go, that one was too far away. I'm going to force the loops to go a little bit sideways, so that instead of giving the whole width of the number 8 cut next to it, which would make a very wide paw, I'm doing sideways loops, and I'm getting just a small amount. That one flipped underneath. I'm getting a small amount on the side to give him just, I think, a more natural looking paw. So I'll make a decision later as to whether I'm going to do that for the second paw. And I'm just going to carry this up and around here. I'm in here in virtual quarantine, isolation, self-distancing with the kids, being electric as always. But hey, that's what happens when you have kids in your 40s, right? So, all right. So this one looks like it's going to just go to meet that one I left off there. I've still got quite a bit underneath, so I'm going to leave that for now. But you can see what I'm getting at with this, that I wanted the paw to be a little bit fatter. I'm going to make a decision again here. I'll probably want that to be a bit fatter there too. We'll see. A good way of knowing is going to be to start putting the backing color through. So in your kit, you're going to have this yellow, this pink, and this pink, and maybe they look the same, but they're not. This one's darker and this one's lighter, very slightly. And the reason I like it to be like that is because it creates variety back here. So for me, it doesn't matter which one I choose. I'm just going to pick one and pop back under here between the paws so I can see what kind of definition I've established between those two paws, because it is a narrow area, and I was working on making that one paw a little bit fatter and thicker. And I just want to be sure that I've been successful with separating the two paws. And you can see as soon as you put color behind it, I'm going to put those closer together actually, because I'm going to force the other one over a bit. It's all getting the feel for it, which you know, getting the feel for it is the thing. It is the only thing. I'm going to loop around the front paw and create this rounded sort of geometry movement. It's emphasizing the movement of the rabbit, which is what I want to do, because even though this is a pink background, we've added bursts of other colors and it becomes busy. Now this is a good time for me to decide whether I want to make this leg fatter, and I do. So for now I'm going to leave that, because I think I am going to fatten this out from here to here. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show you with this in the early stages of doing it, I'm still deciding if I like these lettuces. They're supposed to be like the sort of Cape facet red leaf lettuces instead of flowers on the Easter hat. I thought, let's put lettuce on the Easter hat since we've got a bunny design going. So I've done this very, very, very key lime bright green and this very red fuchsia. And then I popped it with a little bit of the indigo, the blue violet. So I'm going to see how that goes. I feel like I won't know how that goes until I do more of it. But for now, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to show you the other thing that's different about this kit, and that is the yarn. So you're going to be getting 3 kinds of yarn. Pop that up a bit. This is going to be one of them. So you can see it's very multicolored, and there's even some dark greens and some yellows in there. The second one is this pink. It's fairly pink. It's got more of a pearly luster to it. It's got little pops of orange in it. And the third one is this real classic Irish or Scottish looking tweedy purple. It's got the red grape purple and also the more indigo violet purple and a little bit of whitish gray. So these are the colors I'm using. So you're going to have some of each of these in your kit. So right now I'm just going to cut a piece of the color changing pink, and I'm going to hook it doubled. This is sock yarn. This one is sock yarn. This one is a little more of a DK weight, a little bit of a thicker weight. And so is this one. This is definitely a thicker weight. So the sock yarn, for sure, I would double up. I'm doubling up all 3 in the whole background of my composition. I always double up yarn unless it's really thick, worsted or bulky or extra bulky. So I double it up like I'm going to sew, and I've got my 2 ends here and I've got my loop here, and this is where I'm going to attach to. So I'm going to show you filling in a little bit of the background here. I'm going to grab my yarn from underneath, and I'm going to let it sit quite high because the wool is quite high. If you loop it and you put it too low because it's smaller and finer, you're going to have a very big height difference in your composition. If that's what you're going for, then you should. But if that's not what you're going for, I would hook it tall and loopy. And I'm hooking, see, I pulled a little green one through there, which I love, that variety. That one's, I'm getting 2 for each pull because I've got it doubled up. You can decide how you want to tackle the yarn part, but I tackle it doubled and I hook into just about every single square because it's thin. And I love to see the color changing. I'm putting very random streaks of background in behind the rabbits in the hat. Very random. I've outlined the bunnies. I think that's important. But then I've got some real random movement going. And in that random movement, where I find a little pocket, I'm filling it with my yarn. And I'm, again, randomly filling it with my yarn. A little bit of all 3. So you're seeing come up the pink variety, the purple Irish Scottish looking one, and then this more rosy pink, more of a DK weight. So you can choose where you want to pop those colors in, whether you want to use all 3 or whether you want to use just one. I'm giving you enough that you should be able to make good choices according to your own taste. But I'm just coming around and making sure that in these gaps, it's almost like stained glass, in these gaps that I left for hooking color, I'm making sure that I have enough loops and that there's a high concentration. Now I'm wondering, while I'm doing this, if I should have done this a solid pink because it's hitting the hat and I don't want it to be confusing. That maybe is something I'll decide later. I might just leave it here and loop a couple solid pieces behind it. The thing about this pattern is, now what happened to my scissors? Here we go with where's my scissors. The thing about this pattern is you've got a lot of choices. I always call these beginner patterns because they're simple and it's cut in an 8 primitive, but this one in particular has a lot of choices for you to make in terms of the pattern that you're going to put in the background. I save even little bits like this because, you know, you can stick them in somewhere later. You certainly don't have to be crazy like I am, but it's fun to hold on to everything. Yeah, I was second guessing this right here, so I'm going to come over here and just add a little bit of the pink to it so that it mirrors all of the other parts of this, the outlining, the silhouette and the rabbits that are solid first. There we go. I think that shores that right up. And the hat has kind of a flappy brim, so if it's not exactly round, it shouldn't be. It's an Easter hat. It's floppity straw. I didn't make it like a 20s hat that was just really, really flappy. I gave it some structure so you could tell it's an Easter hat. And since I have a little bit of this left and there's a little gap right here, I'm just going to come in here and fill it in. This is why it's good to have, I didn't fold this one. I just put it in as a double and I hooked it, and I'm going to trim it down because it's going to be pretty high up. I don't want to mess too much with the silhouette of the hat. So I'm just putting in as much of it as I can until I get to the end. It's all under there and I can still feel a little bit. There we go. So that's the end of that strand, and I just trim it down a little bit. So that piece is done. So the parts of this thing that you need to really think about at this point, again, this is just an early stage and I started it late last night and I'm just doing a little bit this morning, is the rabbit's bodies, keeping those nice and lean and trim with nice straight lines, and think about where you want to double up. This is, on this rabbit, this is 1 row plus loops sideways. So both of these legs are. These are just 1 row. These ears you can see are a little bit skinnier. Those are just 1 row. So you can make decisions about where you want to have your singling and your doubling. So far I've singled this and I've doubled that, entirely up to you. The next thing I'm going to be working on in the next video is going to be the shadows to the hat and deciding whether I am happy with these red cabbage leaf flowers. The thing that I haven't thought about yet for myself too is the scalloped border. There's this soft scalloping border that goes around the edge. I'm thinking of doing that in a real blue teal, very bold and dark. But I'm going to see how it goes as this evolves. I'm still choosing the 3rd plaid or tweed for the 3rd rabbit. So all of this is evolving. It's a work in progress. But I just wanted to show you those techniques of doing the ears, the paws, keeping the bodies nice and lean and long, and adding in the yarns as you go. They all hook similarly, and they all hook well. Let me do one more of those just to show you a different yarn getting hooked. I'm just going to cut some of this purple. Again, I'm folding it in half. And when you're handling it, you can see there's such nice red grapey tones in there. It's really, really appealing. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do a little more of this, and I'm just going to show you how it hooks differently. It's still yarn, and since everybody's hooking with yarn lately, I thought let's do some yarn in this kit, and not just some yarn, 3 different yarns, 3 very different yarns, because I think most people shy away from hooking with sock yarn or fingering weight yarn if they are not using a punch needle. But I don't. I particularly like the sock yarn because I like folding it, and I like getting the 2 loops side by side every time you pull up. I've also quadrupled it, so folding it twice, and then you've got 4 ply every time you pull up. Now this is that Tweedy yarn. It's 100% wool. It's hooking really well. It's hooking really fast. It's got nice color variation. It's very easy to feel. It's easy pulling through, and it gives a nice effect. It's very light on the loops on top. So I'm already done with that strand I did, and I'm just pulling up all the loops until I get the ends, and I'm going to trim everything down later. But you can see how easy it is and fun to hook with yarn. Really fun. So this is going to be part of our first video on the April block, the bunny hop. Hope you enjoy.